Alright guys, so here's a reminder of the question from this week. It said the process of making laws in the UK is truly democratic, and here is the plan you were given to work from. You were reminded there's other points you could have made beyond this, because there's plenty of things missing from there, like the role of the House of Lords, but this was your starting point, and this was your question.
Hey guys, so welcome to your homework feedback. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put some images on the screen of some of the questions that you guys answered, some of the answers that you gave me. What I want you to do is to pause when you see the question, when you see someone's answer, read what they've written, and then when you've paused it and you've read what they've written and you've thought a bit about what they've written, then press play again and you'll hear me kind of comment on it and say, okay, what about this, could have done that there. And we'll do that for a few questions, show some examples of where people do things well and where they can improve them, okay?
Okay, let's have a look at an answer then. So, a bit tricky, I'm trying to hold my phone still at the same time, so apologies if it's a bit wobbly. So this person here starts with our way, the way. Come on, bit of simple proofreading here, folks. We need to kind of make sure we're not making silly errors. So, our way, the way. So a way of proving that lawmaking process in the UK is truly democratic is the fact that a large amount of scrutiny is put it before a law is passed. So basic kind of proofreading needs to happen here, but what I like is that the first sentence is exactly like we've asked. The structure of this paragraph is good. They begin with just a sentence that says the way of proving that a lawmaking process is democratic is because there's loads of scrutiny. That's it, simple line. And then they go on to explain it. So when the Prime Minister wants to pass a new law, there's a 4-step process that has to be followed. First, the executive proposes a new law. We like the word executive, makes it look clever, shows what we know. It's then sent to the House of Commons, where it's voted on by the opposition and the party in charge. You could kind of summarise that in a better way by just talking about the legislature. If it's accepted there, then it goes to the House of Lords for them to check it over. If they like it, it would go to a judiciary. No, it doesn't. They're judges. They judge court cases. They don't get involved in making of laws. And then go for royal assent. However, if the House of Lords do not like it, they will send it back and start parliamentary ping-pong. Now, at this point, I would say, well, so what? So he finishes. So he's done his introductory sentence. He then got the middle. He finishes. This is democratic, as it takes a lot of steps in order to pass one law and is looked at by a lot of unbiased people. Again, I'd rather, instead of saying that, because of course they are political parties, they are biased, it'd be better if it finished by saying that it takes lots of steps and is looked at by elected MPs who represent the views of their constituents. Because that makes it democratic, doesn't it? The fact that we're speaking for other people. If we look at the one below, then he then says one way the creation of laws is undemocratic is that every political party has a 3-line whip. So again, just a simple sentence to start us off. He breaks it up. This means that if the PM wants everyone within his party to vote in favour of something, he can order his chief whip to put a 3-line whip onto the bill he wants passed. Good, so we're seeing good vocabulary throughout. This means that no one in the party is allowed to disagree with the PM, and if they do, they will probably be removed from the cabinet. Don't forget, you don't have to be in the cabinet to disagree. Any of the backbenchers, anyone could disagree. So that's not quite right, but the idea that 3-line whip stops people disagreeing, and if they don't, there might be consequences. You could put an example in here, like the fact that Boris Johnson sacked 21 of his MPs when they disagreed with his Brexit legislation. Then you finish off again with that simple sentence, this is undemocratic, as if the constituents of an MP want something done. There's a 3-line whip there, MP cannot do anything about it. So what I like about this answer is both paragraphs follow the structure I want, and that's what I really want you to focus on, the structure. Introductory sentence, explanation in the middle, closing sentence that tells me how it answers the question. So what? Why should we care? Okay, this next one's handwritten, so you might find it a little bit trickier to read, but like with the first, I'll read it to you and we'll talk through the quality of what they've got to say. So, let's have a look. It starts here. In the UK, the process of making laws is democratic because there is an abundance of consultation involved. Just like the last answer we saw, simple open sentence that tells the examiner what's coming next. They then go on to explain it. The government may issue green and white papers, express their opinion on social media platforms or websites, or be scrutinised by the House of Lords later in the process. These provide a chance to oppose the passing of legislation on behalf of the electorate. Look at the key vocabulary that's coming throughout with the electorate, with legislation, with the House of Lords. Up here we've talked about consultation. Well, he's not just telling me there's consultation, he's showing me how, he's proving it. Green and white papers, media platforms, websites where they put their information out there. So he's given an example to back up that he knows what we mean. Sometimes we do this, we use the good word and then we don't go on to prove we get it. Whereas here, talked about consultation, then he goes on to show me what that consultation is, and that proves that he understands what he's on about. This is something you need to make sure you do. Once you've said a statement, prove that you get it. Where are we? This is democratic. Where are we? Oh yeah. This provides a chance to oppose the legislation on behalf of the electorate. Good, that's right, when we talk about debate. And this is democratic as it leaves the creation of new law in the hands of the electorate, good word again, and the House of Lords, not just the central government. Because again, he's saying, look, if we, the electorate, get to have a say in all this, in these green and white papers, in all this consultation, it means that the making of new laws is going through us. It's not just being done by the government. However, the process of making laws in the UK could be seen as undemocratic as the government is not obliged to listen to the electorate. Again, straightforward sentence, doesn't explain, just tells the point we're going to make. This is the point I'm going to make, that the government don't always have to listen, so it's not as democratic. And then he goes on. In the case of a majority government, good terminology, the group has the power to freely pass legislation. I prefer a word party than group, maybe there. In the case of majority government, the party has the power to freely pass legislation. He then mentions something different. See, this paragraph splits into almost 2 points, because he says they can pass legislation through scrutiny of the House of Lords. This is undemocratic, and he's given me 2 reasons why now. It's undemocratic because we've got a majority government, so they can kind of push it through without being opposed. But he also says it's undemocratic as the only people that can stop a new law being passed under a majority government are hereditary peers or appointed members. So it's almost a double point in this paragraph. The idea that a majority government don't have to listen to the electorate because they're in power, and the MPs on the opposing sides, who represent all the other constituents, are always going to be outnumbered. That means we, the electorate, are always outnumbered. But on the other hand, he's then also going on to say something else. He's adding on to that. So he could have split those up. He could have talked about majority government, and that meaning that constituents' voices aren't heard from all the minority parties. And then as a separate paragraph, he could have talked about it being undemocratic because the House of Lords is unelected. So that could have been 2 points. But either way, just like the first example we saw, what I want you to focus on is the structure of the paragraphs. Opening sentence, explanation in the middle, and then a link that tells me, okay, how's that answered the question at the end? Okay, hopefully that's of some use. Bye.